And I wanted to say thank you for joining us on behalf of everyone here at Green Science Solutions. If you'd like to ask a question, just put it into the chat function, and we'll get to those questions at the end of the presentation. We want to be appreciative of this opportunity, and we'll do our best to provide value for your time and attention. I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment off the top to say a special thank you to Jeff Peterson of St. Peter's of North St. Paul, not only for his help in putting the word out about this webinar to introduce you to stabilized aqueous ozone, or SAO, but for being a man of faith. Because, I mean, if we're talking about religion, faith is everything, right? Well, that's true with today's topic as well. You see, they had a problem at St. Pete's, one that you might be familiar with. They had a mandate to clean the church to try to ward off this coronavirus. But when they started using disinfectants in their facility, they started to run into a host of problems. It was that time that one of Jeff's co-workers at St. Pete's mentioned she had a sister who worked at a place called Green Science Solution, where they added technology that turns water into ozone. You didn't think I was going to say it turns water into wine, did you? I mean, it's good, but it's not that good. Only one guy can do that. Nope, this is no miracle, but we believe what we have is your best option for protecting your community, your church, and your planet, not just now, but for the foreseeable future. So who are we? We are Green Science Solutions. We're a Minnesota-based company that proudly distributes safe, healthy, and green products, including SAO, or stabilized aqueous ozone, which is the patented technology of a Canadian company called Sano. Located in Windsor, Ontario, Sano manufactures environmentally safe and healthy cleaning, sanitizing, and deodorizing technologies, including SAO. So what exactly is SAO? Stabilized aqueous ozone, which is known as nature's sanitizer. And really what Sano has done is harness the power of Mother Nature. When lightning strikes water, it transforms that water, infusing the H2O with an extra oxygen molecule, transforming it from H2O to H2O3, or ozone. And when it's in that ozone state, that it becomes an extremely powerful but also very unstable element, meaning it's literally there one moment but gone the next. So what Sano figured out how to do was to put an electric charge into water and transform it in a stabilized form, hence the name SAO, which does stand for stabilized aqueous ozone. That is a solution that is, while 100% natural, is also 1.5 times stronger than chlorine bleach, meaning it kills bacteria, viruses, and other pathogens, but at the same time is 100% safe for people and the planet. And this is not new, folks. Sano's technology was recognized by Time magazine as one of its best new technologies back in 2006. So Sano's patented technology is literally lightning in a box. They put an electric charge into water, producing, as I said, the stabilized aqueous ozone, which is a liquid cleaner, sanitizer, and disinfectant that will remain as ozone either for a period of 4 hours or 24 hours, depending on the stabilizer you choose. Now, as you're looking at this graphic, the stabilizer is the black tube on the left. And you have those two options of 2 or 4 or 24 hours. We'll talk about that later. At the end of that time period, when you go to dispose of it, anything you have left over just simply reverts back to water, where it can be safely disposed of. No hazardous waste, no degradation of your facility, your equipment, and most important, no damage to people, pets, or planet. So your choice is really simple when you get down to it. It really basically goes down to technology or chemicals. Chemicals, when they address these various pathogens, lay down a barrier. What they're attempting to do is to poison the virus or the pathogen. But what if the germs develop resistance, as they have been known to do? If that happens, those chemicals then become a food source for the virus. Aqueous ozone breaks down the virus's molecular bonding, literally attacking and destroying the virus, not poisoning it, but destroying it. And we know the inevitable outcome of exposure to chemicals. So why would we expect the long-term outcome of this explosion of chemicals being employed all over the country right now to result in a positive outcome. History has taught us again and again that the chemical cleaning process will not end well in the long term. So let's get down to what you want to know. Is SAO effective against COVID-19? SAO has been tested against the EPA's 2 approved surrogate viruses. Those are viruses that are closest to COVID-19, have been found to be 99.99% effective against those surrogates with just a 1-minute dwell time. That means it just has to sit there for 1 minute and it reaches 99.99% effective. Now, SAO will be tested against COVID-19 itself by an independent EPA lab next month. And based on the history of SAO against SARS and other viruses from the COVID family, we are highly confident that SAO will once again produce a kill rate that is on par with or superior to any chemical product on the market. As I said a moment ago, SAO is not new. This is a patented technology that has been approved by a host of sanctioning bodies, including the EPA, the USDA, the FDA, and others, and is widely in use in Europe, Australia, and since this most recent pandemic, increasingly in Asia, where everyone is searching for a sustainable solution to this pandemic. When Jeff Peterson called out the initial email, sent out the initial email about this webinar, one person responded saying, they haven't been tested against COVID-19 yet, and they're not on the EPA's list of approved disinfectants. Folks, both of those statements are entirely true. However, I just told you that SAO will be tested against COVID-19 itself in June, and it is approved by the EPA, just in another category. It's approved as a approved pesticide device, which has been proven 99.99% effective against SARS-CoV-2 virus surrogates. This technology is very real, and it is highly effective. And when you have SAO, all you really need is cold water, electricity, and your kit, and you're in business. All you got to do is locate the dispenser and the accompanying stabilizer near your cold water supply and electrical outlet, and in just seconds of running water and electricity through the system, you are ready to dispense up to your needs, up to 3.5 gallons of SAO per minute in whatever amount you need for your particular cleaning process. You need a cup, fill up a cup. You need a quart, do a quart. You need a gallon, do a gallon. You need a bucket, fill the bucket. You've got that on site and on demand. So as far as your cleaning process, whether you use a mop, a spray bottle, a floor machine, or a backpack or electrostatic sprayer, you are good to go. SAO can be used almost anywhere on any surface and will remain active as a cleaner and sanitizer for up to 24 hours. And when you're finished cleaning, you just pour the unused ozone right down the drain where it will revert back to water, doing no additional damage to our water supply or our planet. Then, when your next shift or the next morning when you start with a new cleaning process, you'll just generate a new batch of fresh SAO on site and on demand. Now, SAO isn't just good for your church building and your congregation. We think it's also going to save you money. It'll do that by giving you a better cleaning process while at the same time allowing you to get rid of a whole host of chemicals. You're also going to be removing plastic and cardboard from the supply chain, and even the stabilizers that we use are 100% recyclable. When they expire, you just send them back to Sano, where they'll be refurbished and put back into service, keeping them out of the landfills. So who uses SAO? Well, you might be surprised. Not only do many major companies, including Google, as well as the universities of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Stanford, clean their facilities with SAO. People, especially young people, base many of their buying decisions on a business's, or in this case, perhaps, a church's carbon footprint. So if you want to look forward thinking to that next generation, the sustainability of SAO offers you a great opportunity to do just that. Off the top, I talked about the importance of faith, but you can also prove the effectiveness of the SAO cleaning technology by employing the use of the patented LM1 Luminometer from 3M. Originally designed for use in the food industry, the LM1 is a hygiene monitoring system that in the wake of COVID-19 is being used in a whole host of other applications. So what in the heck is a hygiene monitoring system? What the LM1 does is it measures something called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. It's a fancy name for dirt. Virus, it doesn't detect viruses, but it measures dirt on a surface of an area to be cleaned. So what you can objectively compare is how clean was that surface before you put on your SAO, and then again after. So for instance, we went to a local wrestling facility and we measured the dirt on one of their mats, and it came out at 7,000 and some. And we put down some SAO and we left it there for a minute and wiped it up, and then we retested the area, and then the meter measured a reading of 200. And if we would have stayed with it, I'm sure we would have gotten close to a 0. But what it does is it measures cell activity, cellular activity, and dirt on a surface. So you can at least say, is this product removing dirt from the surface? And that's an objective way to do that. So if you're interested in doing so, how do you evolve to SAO? Well, each kit comes with one dispenser, that's the gray box on the right, and your choice of either a 4-hour or a 24-hour stabilizer. Each stabilizer produces SAO that will stay in ozone form for that time limit, 4 or 24 hours, and people generally buy them to fit their cleaning needs. That said, the majority of stabilizers we sell are of the 24-hour variety. At $1,850, the entry point for the 24-hour kit is slightly lower than the 4-hour kit, which costs $2,080. The replacement stabilizers for the 24-hour kit are also a little less expensive. The catch is the 4-hour stabilizer tends to last about twice as long, so that is the trade-off. That's why it's more expensive. Now, each kit comes with 2 stabilizers. So the idea is that you'll never be left without a stabilizer or the ability to produce on-site SAO. Actually, each kit comes with a pre-printed, prepaid FedEx label that you put on the box with your expired stabilizer, and you ship it back to Tersano, where it will be recycled and a new replacement stabilizer will then be sent to you. Now, how long do these things tend to last? The 4-hour stabilizer can go through 1,600 gallons before it runs out. And as it's winding down, you will get a series of warnings. The light on the unit will go from green to yellow to orange and eventually red, where it will tell you that it is time to change the dispenser. You'll then put that stabilizer back in the box, slap on the label, and send it back to Tersano, where it will be 100% recycled. The 24-hour stabilizer will go through 800 gallons before it needs to be replaced. Both stabilizers are covered under a 1-year warranty, and the replacement cost of a 4-hour stabilizer is $480, while the cost of the 24-hour stabilizer is $350 per stabilizer. Now, we believe the SAO technology stands to save you a lot of money over the long term. We also know that it is a substantial investment up front. That said, we want you to be aware of an assistance program that's being offered if your church has an accompanying school. In the wake of the coronavirus pandemic, there's currently an opportunity to apply benefits from the federal program known as the Esther Fund towards the purchase of the SAO technology. Esther funds can be applied towards personal protective equipment, cleaning and sanitizing materials, and similar supplies necessary to maintain school operations during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. Much like the Small Business Assistance Program, these funds are available on a first-come, first-served basis and will only be available until that fund is exhausted. So no matter what you decide to do today in terms of this technology, please, if you have an associated school, look into the ESSER fund because you can save yourself a good chunk of money, and we definitely want you to do that. Finally, if you like what you're hearing today and you're interested in employing the SAO technology inside your own home and for your own family, well, we want you to be aware that we also offer Tersano's iClean Mini. As you can see in the graphic there, the iClean Mini is a handheld version of the larger kits that's great for the home. It's got a cool design. It is rechargeable. It plugs in, it recharges, and it makes this motorized sound as it is dispensing the spritz of SAO. You can use it in place of hand sanitizer. We believe it works better because you don't know what that hand sanitizer is being made from. And again, the material that you're spraying around your home, on your hands, on your children, is 100% safe and natural. The cost of an iClean Mini is $279. And again, it is rechargeable. It operates on cold water, and we believe it will pay for itself over the life of the product. It does require a replacement cartridge, and a pack of those cartridge goes for $29.99. So, sorry about the malfunction on the operator's part off the top. My fault, 100%. And I know I just threw a lot at you. So we're going to stick around. We're happy to answer your questions, which again can be put into the chat feature. We look forward to your questions. But before I transfer it over, I just wanted to say thank you. It's been an honor to have this opportunity. We look forward to getting the churches back open again and to helping you make people comfortable with the idea of coming back and worshiping as a community in an environment that may actually be safer than it was before this virus, because we think you're going to be cleaning with a better system. So now it is at this time when I am going to attempt to stop the share. And now I can go back and see questions. And Tom and Michelle, if you're there, feel free to chime in and to unmute you.
I think we're good. Can you hear me?
You are good. Okay.
Yep.
So I had a question, and one of the people on it says, I had a detailed conversation with a major company who focuses on sanitization. Their testing did not show sanitizing being done. They questioned the swab testing done showing cleaning done. They said not to do your product, but rather do bleach, which is their sanitized product at their company. Then it seems to continue. Question, are all the universities, Stanford, Michigan, Wisconsin, all continuing to do this process exclusively? So Mark, thank you for those questions. And he asked, why do I know your name? Once upon a time, I used to be on TV on Care 11. And obviously, I didn't have to do the technical part then, Mark. So that's the fly in the ointment here. So let's back up to your first question. And I would like Tom Holm to step in at this point, because Tom is deeper versed than I am in this. And we don't know the company that's in question, Tom, but they have got a process that apparently deals with bleach.
Okay, yeah. I mean, first of all, I'll talk a little bit about, I think the EPA regulations and the CDC requirements. It kind of ties into this, I think. So basically, the CDC is recommending that everybody use an approved either chemical or approved device, pesticide device. And so, as Tim mentioned earlier, we fall into the pesticide device. So that requires the manufacturer to both be registered and then also have the efficacy test performed. And so those two requirements have been met, and those test results are available for your review. So then I guess the other part of the question is comparing SAO to chlorine bleach. And as Tim mentioned also earlier, that SAO has been proven to be at least 1.5 times more effective than bleach. And it's obviously a cleaner, safer product. There's a number of problems with bleach when it comes to that, and especially if you're using it regularly. But especially say chlorine bleach mixes with ammonia, you get hazardous gas produced. So regular use of chlorine bleach is not a good thing for your employees. We also find that it does take off, say, the finish on furniture, pews, things like that. So where you can get around and not not use it, if you have aqueous ozone available to you, I highly recommend you use that. I guess chlorine bleach has the one advantage in that it's more stable and it can be stored on your shelf for a longer period of time. That's about the only advantage I have seen for chlorine bleach at this point.
And then the other question was about the cleaning process, the ATP verification. And they said not to do your product. They questioned the swab testing done, showing cleaning done. And I'm going to let, again, Tom or Michelle handle this, but first I just want to start by saying, now, this is something that we've had a lot of conversations with 3M about. 3M, this is not what their technology was initially designed for, and they were initially sort of a little leery about this. But really, there are other products that do ATP testing, but this is that we have found to be the best one out there. And what it does, again, is it matters the presence of dirt or matter on a surface. And that's what it does. And recognized and used by the food industry for years. So that, I guess, is, verifying your cleaning process is going to be so important going forward. And this is certainly one method and one we've found to be highly effective. But Tom and Michelle, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I guess, pretty much like you said, it's been a proven technology to identify the presence of, say, dirt, as well as mold, fungi, and bacteria. The one drawback, we would certainly highlight is that it doesn't identify viruses. Viruses by themselves are not living and so do not produce any ATP. But I guess what's going on here is that we are measuring the presence of all the others and assuming that if those are not present, viruses also are not present, and vice versa. If they are present, then viruses would also be present. So that is the way ATP testing works. Like I said, both in the general food processing, manufacturing industries, as well as out in the real world, can be done in churches and is very effective in monitoring contact points. So your door handles, the backs of your church pews, or the armchairs of your church pews, all those can be tested on a regular basis to know whether or not it has been cleaned recently and effectively.
And the only thing I would add, Tim and Mark, is that Stanford University uses it, and they started using it in 2015. They happen to use it in conjunction with the SAO water, but no matter what your cleaning process is, going forward, you're going to have to validate it, no matter what your cleaning process is. And the only way you're going to be able to validate it is by ATP testing. So when you ask the last part of the question, are the universities still doing this? They all are. And actually, they're kicking it into high gear. So those universities that have SAO water, they're using it more often now than ever. And now they're all implementing ATP testing along with it. University of North Carolina, Charlotte has just ordered 2 ATP meters, and then they have, many more coming. But we're not asking you guys to purchase any ATP meters. We did it as an exercise, and I think this is where Jeff might be able to kind of chime in to see how we did it at St. Pete's in North St. Paul and how it validated. There was a doorknob that we swabbed, and it came in at a little over 3,000 relative light units. And I mentioned them that we'll probably have to clean it twice because there's residue left on that doorknob from your chemical, and that SAO water has to break it down. So we cleaned it the first time, and it came to a little over 1,000. We cleaned it a second time, and it was right under 300. So you're showing that now that doorknob has really nothing for any virus to live on. And maybe Jeff can validate that a little bit if you can, Jeff.
And I have unmuted you, Jeff.
Hey, am I muted?
You're unmuted.
Okay. So just to add to Michelle's point, I think the piece of the testing that really amazed me is we swabbed a certain part on a pew. We took a reading, and then I took my hand after that and put it right in that exact same spot. And then Michelle swabbed it again. And what I was expecting to see some increase in the reading. And what I found was there was virtually no change, which then supported the point that Michelle just made, that with this solution, there's no film that is left on that pew like there is when you use some other cleaning solution for any type of bacteria or virus or anything to really grow on. So that was the component that really put me over the top in terms of why I thought this idea was so incredible, along with the fact that it actually increases the time and reduces the labor cost of cleaning or sanitizing the entire church.
And maybe Jeff, now, you know, if you could maybe explain what your cleaning was doing to your pews prior to SAO water and what that looked like a little bit.
Yeah, so we were using a combination of Clorox bleach, which is the main ingredient from the CDC. That's why I have a little bit of a problem with always relying on what the CDC says, because what we noticed was it was destroying the finish on our pews. The luster is completely gone. In some cases, it took the finish off of the pews, so now we have to go back and actually touch up some of the pews. And so we were all set to switch from using the Clorox bleach to something else, hydrogen peroxide, which I wasn't really a fan of, but I was told that it wouldn't hurt the wood finish, and that's why we were going to change. And then along came this whole concept of this aqueous ozone type of sanitizer, and so we're saving the wear and tear on our pews by not using some harsh chemical.
And that's sort of the whole beauty of this whole thing, is that there is no degradation to your facility. And you think about it, if it's doing that to your pews, you know, what's it doing to the people that are coming in contact with it? And we know this is a major departure. I mean, I have it in my own house. My wife is a very clean person, and if it doesn't smell clean, and if it doesn't, you know, have that certain, well, then how do you know it's really working? So it's just asking people to do things in a new way. And I think the bottom line that I've come to is technology is greater than chemicals. And we've just found that, you know, I mean, the recent movie Blackwater, Aaron Brockovich, time and time again, these different stories that have come out about people's exposure to chemicals. And this isn't on that large a scale, but if you think about it, and everyone being told to use this type of chemicals around the country at all these different facilities, it's significant. And together we'd have an opportunity to take a lot of, you know, chemicals, you know, out of the environment, and plastic and cardboard and all the rest of it. So there's another question about the ongoing quality of the SAO after a time in agitation. How do you test its effectiveness in the current situation? And I'm going to let Tom handle that one again. Tom, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, sorry, Tim, what was that question on?
About the ongoing quality of the SAO over time in agitation. How do you test its effectiveness in its current condition?
Oh yeah. So typically there, what you want to do is there's actually tests to test for ozone in water, and it's much like testing a chlorine in water for say a swimming pool. There's just it's a test strip that you would just dip into the water, and it will show you the level of ozone. These machines actually use or dispense roughly 1.5 to 2.0 parts per million in terms of concentration of ozone in the water. So that's actually a very low dose compared to like gaseous ozone, which is up closer to 40 parts per million. And that's why gaseous ozone is not generally safe to inhale, but aqueous ozone is perfectly safe just because it's a low concentration yet still powerful. So those types of tests in terms of testing for the concentration are readily available and inexpensive, less than probably 20 cents per test. So at any time you can always test the concentration of the ozone coming out of your machines.
So the next question is, what are the weaknesses that could happen in the process or the use of this? It seems too good to be true. And how many times have we all said that? So yeah, jump ball, Tom or Michelle, what are the weaknesses?
I think the biggest weakness is that it only lasts for, either 4 or 24 hours. And so you kind of have to, work around that. In most cases within a school or a church, the 24 hours is certainly sufficient. In some other instances where, you wish it would have a longer shelf life, but that's probably the biggest limitation.
And I would say that weakness versus an obstacle is really the learning curve, the process of explaining to people and the parishioners and your staff of how it is to be used and how effective it really can be. I mean, you're trying to get out 80 to 90% of your chemicals in the building. And that's why when we approached Jeff and his custodians, is we just said, you have to go all in. So it's not, you can't use this and then use, some type of chemical behind it, because you're defeating the whole purpose. And the more you use this SAO water, the cleaner the surfaces become time and time and time again. So when you get up the next day, that surface is going to be cleaner because of the SAO water, because it's not leaving any residue than it would have been the night before if you used a traditional chemical. So I think I don't look at anything like any negatives. I look at the biggest obstacle is education and getting everybody involved and educating everybody so they believe in it.
We haven't talked a lot about, say, the dwell times. If you read the label on all the, say, chlorine disinfectants that you run into, most of them will say that it has to be in contact for, say, 10 minutes in order to be effective in killing microorganisms. That's a long time, and most people don't adhere to that. And so what happens is, if you only leave it in contact for a minute or so, you're really just building up antibacterial resistance in those microorganisms because you're not effectively killing them. So the dwell times for most pathogens for SAO is typically 30 seconds or less. Some are a minute. But again, the beauty is, even if it doesn't kill them all, it's not going to allow them to build up a chemical resistance. So that's just a real strong advantage, I think, that just the fact that people don't use the chemicals properly, even in order for them to be effective.
So the question was, do companies continue to use this product after initial use, or does it go away after the honeymoon period? Well, Tom and Michelle came into contact with this product, I think, in October, and then they brought it to me in March. So I would say we're still in the honeymoon period personally. But again, this company's been around since the early 2000s, and Google uses it to clean their facilities. One of the major chemical companies was actually the cleaning service was cleaning their facility with it until they found out about it, and they said, no, you have to go. So we don't know of machines being returned or people saying not, and we plan to be talking about more significant companies and names locally. As for the universities, do they use the process exclusively, and if not, why not? Again, that comes down to, in some areas it's easier to use than in others. In Michigan, they clean their stadium with it, but I don't know that they do that in Wisconsin. And if not, why not? We're looking forward to having those conversations. It's a learning process for us as well, but we know that Stanford and most of these places that have green initiative, their goal is to use this exclusively and sooner rather than later.
And I would just jump in and say one more thing as far as the honeymoon period. The schools that we work with currently, they've all ordered additional machines, like 8 to 10 new machines, because they like it so much. So we're seeing kind of the opposite, that they're seeing the value of it. So they increase the number of dispensers, so they have one in each of their janitorial closets. So what we're finding at Green Science Solution is kind of the opposite. When the honeymoon gets over, they want more machines.
And so I think we're okay saying that St. Michael Albertville had it in all their schools this past year. Buffalo had it in their school district.
Hill Murray.
And Hill Murray just added it and
ordered more machines. Mm-hmm. Correct.
Yeah. So the next question is, do you need a cleaning agent in addition to the water? No. The water becomes the cleaning agent. That's what happens. They figured out a patented process to put the electric charge in the water, and it changes. It's no longer H2O. It looks like it. It acts like it to us as humans. I see one video where somebody had the iClean Mini literally spraying it on their toothbrush and then putting on the toothpaste. But that cleaning agent is working right then and there. It just has no dangerous product to it at all. So if you're smelling something, That's because they're putting some sort of a perfume in there, some sort of a chemical in there, so you'll know that it's there. But in this case, that's not something that they do, nor do they do to. So there's a response, I think, to one of your, about the other company we were talking about earlier. It's a follow-up saying, no, they don't use bleach, but rather thought that bleach was better than the Sano process. Well, again, I'd love to find out who that company was if you want to message me directly and have that conversation. But this is all just, really it's even about what we're doing today. This is all just about having a conversation and making you guys aware that this is out there and encouraging you. If you need documentation from us, please, by all means, send myself or Tom Holm or Michelle Hilger an email at Green Science Solutions, and we'll provide all the documentation that we have. And for us, we're not here having this conversation with you if this technology had not proven to be everything that we had been led it was to begin with. The next one says, it's a fact the CDC has been wrong on several issues. It's not always best resources. Chemicals do serious damage on finishes and health of people. Yep, I appreciate that. I agree with that. Do you have a chart that shows the effectiveness curve on a time basis? Like after 1 hour, the effectiveness goes down 50%. How does the process rid dirt as a cleaning agent? And question for Jeff, do you use any other sanitizers or cleaning agents at your church? So Jeff, if you're still listening, able to talk, are you using any other sanitizer or cleaning agents at St. Pete's?
No, we are not. As a matter of fact, we are going to be using this in the school as well during the flu season to sanitize all our classrooms to minimize the flu virus that always seems to hit the schools every year. But no, we're not using any other cleaning solution. We're using this in our bathrooms. We're using this on our doorways. We're using it everywhere. The only place we're using any other cleaner is when we're doing toilets. It works wonderful on glass.
And I would guess that that's knocked down your cost for having not to buy those chemicals anymore.
Yes, it absolutely. So when you factor in the savings in labor and material, the payback for this is extremely quick.
Okay. Tom, as far as the effectiveness going down on a curve, I mean, it stays at one, and as my understanding, and Tom will correct me on this, is that it stays at one level of effectiveness until the 4-hour period or the 24-hour period expires, and near the very end, as it's going through that process of reverting back to water, it loses its strength. Is that accurate?
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, when it comes out of the machine, it's somewhere between 1.5 and 2.0 parts per million. Can even be as high as say 2.3 or 4. At the end of its time period, it generally is below say 0.7 or 0.8. And that's at the point where it becomes less of a disinfectant, but it remains as a cleaner for at least 48 hours or longer. So you're just losing some of its power to disinfect, but it still is a cleaner for at least 2 or 3 days after it's been created.
Oh no,
Okay.
I'd say the same thing.
Yeah, and the only other thing I would say about its cleaning effectiveness is it's not a real good degreaser. So if you are trying to remove grease, then you might want to start with a degreaser and then go ahead and use the SAO on anything else.
Laura wants to know, do you go out to parishes to demonstrate what was just mentioned at St. Pete's? Well, where are you located? Because we have. Yeah, we have to show people. I'm sorry, Michelle?
I said we'd be happy to, depending on if she's within the state and not too far to travel, we'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, so just send your information and where you're located, and if we can make that happen, we certainly will. Do the people wear, this is a great question, do the people doing the application need to wear protective equipment? I apologize, this has already been answered. It is not. So it's a great question, Jay Berry, and no, you don't need anything. As a matter of fact, on our Green Science Solutions social media, I did a quick little video with one of my daughters where I come home from a major retail store that a lot of people go to. And I come home and I sit down at our center island and I take out my phone and my car keys and my credit cards and my glasses, and I put them down. And I take the iClean Mini and I spray them all down. And I really do that because you're bringing all those people home with you, and none of us wants that, right? So you just spray this on there, and then at the end I spray my hands, and then I actually sprayed myself in the face. As I talked about before, you can spray this. I've seen the video from Sano where somebody's spraying it on their toothbrush. I have not done that yet myself. I would, but I just haven't. And so no PPE is required at all. No glasses, unless you wear glasses, but no mask, no gloves required unless your institution's asking you to do that. But you don't need it for this because, again, it will look like water. It will, well, I guess yesterday some people were saying that they noticed a little smell to it. And I think, Michelle, I think you said you noticed a smell to it. I do not.
Well, and the smell that you smells is like rain after there's been a rainstorm is what it really smells like. It smells like fresh water.
Okay, James wants to know, can we have a link to the recording of this meeting? Well, if I'm not running it, you might. Because if I'm doing it, the chances, James, are, but hopefully, yeah, somebody will be able to do that and get that to you. That's our intent, is to try to provide a recording of this, this webinar so that more people can see this and become aware of it. And I think that might be the last of our questions. But my gosh, you know, it's been 45 minutes. So this has been great. And I hope that you guys have used, a lot of people have stayed with us. I hope you've gotten something out of this. Tom or Michelle, you want to say anything before we shut her down?
Just thank you to Jeff for giving us this opportunity and partnering with us. And we look forward to any questions or inquiries.
Tom? Nope, I think you've covered it.
Thank you to everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, as we said earlier at the beginning of this, your time is the most important thing that you have. And we really want to say thank you to Jeff for this opportunity and for participating and giving you kind of his take on this whole thing. And Jeff and I met at a social occasion and started having this conversation. And I thought he had bought somebody else's product and he was talking about it. And I said, "You didn't happen to buy this from Tom and Michelle, did you?" And he said, "Yes." And so it was great to have that. And if you guys know anything about me, I mean, my intent was not to be involved in this to the extent that I am, but it's like sometimes you learn something about something and you find out great things about it. And so now it's like, I really want people to be aware of this because not only do I want it in churches, think about daycares, think about, senior centers and things like that, where these people are being exposed to chemicals on an everyday basis. Everybody's got good intentions, but how can that process end well? Well, I think we have something that really can. So any way that you can help us spread that message, do your homework, do the investigation as much as you want. And any way you can help with that by providing you information, we're happy to do that. So thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. And I will attempt at this time to put an end to this thing. So thank you.